Huh. That's New York City. That's the beginning of trying to determine where we were going and what the signage was. This one is, this is the guy that fixed the inner tube in Congers, where I had to drive across the Tappan Zee Bridge or the Mario Cuomo Bridge to get my tire fixed. Thank God that guy was open. But it had a homemade sauerkraut in it and roasted beets. I think there was a press push for the Empire State Trail. And I happened to hear about it on the radio, read about it in the newspaper, and see it on some news channel TV show, all in the first 3 days of when they released this information in January. And it just clicked for me. I found their website, and I sat down and drew out my map. And that was really what inspired me, was the fact that I had that map, and I looked at it every day until I got started. It made a lot of sense to me when I was looking for my next adventure for the American Rivers Tour, which I hadn't done for over a year. And I had to put it on hiatus because I got so busy just working through the, tsunami that was the pandemic at Estia's Little Kitchen. I was in the same chair for 340 days.
We'll be ready for you.
Taking orders from customers that were walking on the property and calling in. And it was a pretty intense 12-month run.
Utensils in the bag
where
tonight?
I wasn't working like I usually do, which involves a lot of gardening and moving around and leaving the property to do promotional work. In this case, this was 1 year of sitting in a chair, and I needed an adventure. When I learned about the Empire State Trail, the adventure became very easy to identify. It was riding my bike, because it was a bike trail, my bicycle, which I didn't own at the time. I had to find out what was the right bike to ride. So the initial incentive was adventure. After that was how to determine whether I could do it or not and why I would want to do it. It all starts here, Battery Park. Battery Park, day one. Nice. Nice and warm. Thank God. It's amazing that this was like a marsh. It's okay. Thank you.
I thought you were saying that to yourself.
No. She wanted to know if it was okay to walk through.
It sounded completely insane to me. It just sounded insane. He's not a biker. He doesn't even have biking clothes or whatever you might need. I thought it sounded like an interesting idea, but I never thought it would come to fruition. It just seems so complicated. And honestly, for what? I didn't understand the end game at all. I didn't get it.
This is Colin with a check-in. We couldn't have picked a better day to get started.
I was excited. I got up early. I think I was in motion at 4:30 in the morning. It was like a fishing trip. So I really didn't get caught up in, am I going to do this?
The very start of the ride, you're in the densest part of the world at the end of Manhattan. and you're embarking on a ride that's going to take you into nature, and it's going to take you into the woods, essentially. You can sit at an oyster bar right at the beginning of the trip at Pier A and look out at Lady Liberty, and literally that's the beginning of the Empire State Trail. The bike path actually hangs over the Hudson River, and it's such a beautiful, well-designed and constructed path. It allows for the general public that's walking, the kids on razors, and people on bikes. All the people that want that fresh air and that are getting out into the sunshine and moving without the danger of getting hit by a car. That's what New York City provides them.
Keep walking through.
Riding up along the west side was just great. Seeing all the boats going past the Intrepid and then moving up, going underneath the George Washington Bridge was outstanding.
I've never seen it from the bottom. I rode right underneath. It's just so cool on such a beautiful day. Gosh, it's too bad that the Hudson wasn't open. There's a really cool cafe right on the river, and you can have barbecue there, you can have sushi there. There's bathrooms there.
Awesome. I want to get this bridge.
Yeah.
So as I rode through the Bronx, I had to, change hats and really focus on the road.
Riding through the Bronx was so far out of my comfort zone. I have no experience riding a bike through city streets. Getting to Van Cortlandt Park and riding through the transition from city to woodlands, riding along the Sawmill River. It's a really beautiful area. And then I found Ardsley, and I had dinner with my friend Scott Fratangelo at his bar, and he then told me about his experiences on the Empire State Trail with his children.
20 miles of the bike. Yeah, they from Manhattan.
And it gave me the confidence that, I'm doing the right thing.
And I had a wonderful mushroom pasta, and it's a perfect stopping point for the end of a great day of biking. And now I'm ready to move further up the trail and get to the Croton Bay next week.
The effort to drive to the Croton-on-the-Hudson train station, take that beautiful train ride, which is right on the Hudson River, down to Ardsley. And at that point, I rode a straight uphill to get out of the train station, which I hadn't anticipated. And that's how I started my day, with about a quarter of a mile uphill ride. And then I was on the trail.
I just hit a wall, I think. I came around the corner, and there in front of me was nothing but snow.
From what I can tell, I'm walking now on the snowy trail. I might just be getting myself into a long walk.
The snow was a struggle. If I would ride through the snow, it was exhausting.
And I'm going to have to work on my technique.
And if I would try to hit these 5-6 inch lines that were created by other bikes through the snow, it was emotionally exhausting.
Thread the needle, baby.
And I didn't want to fall.
Oh! It's getting warm.
I'm going to ride to Graham and do a tour through the Roosevelt State Park and try to find somebody at Stone Barns to show me around.
Folks, if we go left here, will it take us into the Roosevelt State Park? Do you know?
And it was closed. There was the concern, can we even walk on the property? because there were signs that said the paths were closed, but there were people walking on the paths. So we continued on, and no one suggested that we were trespassing or anything. As much as the snow was a real challenge to get through, the next section was dangerous. I don't know if I showed you the edge on the road. That was hairy. So day 3, I woke up and I had a flat tire because I had picked up some glass on 9N the day before, and I had to figure out, I didn't have the skills to change it myself, and I wanted to get it done right.
The Jets would basically need to go up and
Couldn't find a bike shop anywhere around here and ended up going to Conyers, New York on the other side of the bridge, Mario Cuomo Bridge, where I went to the Conyers bike shop. The nicest guy in the world allowed me to watch him
Watch my hands.
do the job in all of 5 minutes.
Sit.
And I now have had a tutorial on changing a bike tire.
Got air and a toolkit station.
And I rode from Rockefeller State Park up to Yorktown Heights, which is where I met Charlie.
Cheers.
The first leg of the trip was still snowy and icy. My first mile on the trail, I don't know how Colin felt about it, but I had massive doubts at that point.
More of the same.
Because it was pure ice. I wiped out about 5 times, and I was not too happy with Colin at that moment.
So Charlie and I went on a off-trail ride, and that ride was much easier.
I was wondering about that one. You gotta watch your bottles of glass, my friend.
And the real highlight, though, was finding Purdy's Farmer and the Fish on the way home.
Feast Farm to Feast. What was that place?
Where are we, Charles?
We're at Farmer and Fish in Purdy's, New York.
A working farm and restaurant.
I can't believe you're commuting all the way back to Long Island.
We had oysters, we had burrata, fantastic place.
The clam chowder was world class.
Look at
and they
that.
Had baked their own crackers that they served with the clam chowder. That whole thing was directly related to what my goals were for the trip, was to find these experiences and share them with others.
I've got both cameras on, so I'm gonna see what happens when I press this button, which should bring 2 beeps.
The phone was much easier for me to assimilate to than the GoPro was.
Nothing yet.
And some of the other gadgets, I really wanted to make use of them.
This is a helmet test. Button here and see what happens.
Almost nearly mechanically inept. So
After a while, I put them aside.
I'm back to biking with my gloves on, which requires turning the iPhone video setting on and off with my nose.
It was cold. It was really cold, and he always had the most positive attitude. Every time you asked him about the trip, he was like, it got cold in parts, but it was beautiful.
They call it the Fred Dill Wildlife Sanctuary. My hands are so cold I can't get the helmet strap off. Guy walking his dog told me that Brewster is that way. Press record. Must be quite poppin' when the summer comes. I can see Mayo Pack here and Brewster here. I'm at the intersection of Holmes Road and the Empire State Trail.
And that day was a 30-mile plus ride, and it was very hilly. And I had 2 rides through the Great Marsh.
Still in Stormville, coming up on the parking area. My first tractor crossing sign. Try not to breathe too loud because I think you should enjoy the sounds of the marsh. Firearm discharge area. Well, there you go. I was caught by the name Hopewell Junction, and I thought to myself, okay, if I get to Hopewell Junction, then, well, let's say I've got a hope. And I know that that's kind of where my cousin Grace lives, and her husband Benny's a rider. And so it's my great hope and confidence that Benny's gonna ride with me on the next leg of this trip. Hopewell Junction Depot, there's a head here. There's an opportunity for restrooms. There's opportunity for parking.
And this time I met Benny Zackin, my cousin's husband, who rides that trail almost 2 or 3 times a week. So this was a nice opportunity for me to spend a day with a guy who's, you know, part of my family.
Hi.
There's an amazing bridge that goes from Poughkeepsie across the Hudson River. And at one time, it was a railway bridge that has been repurposed into a walkway.
This is Highland.
I was happy to be back on the Hudson River and had a reference to the fact that, you know, I had made some progress by this time.
Entering New Paltz, New York.
Rock climbing, you name it.
The ride to New Paltz was flat. It was a very easy ride. We had a nice lunch at the Huckleberry Cafe in New Paltz.
Here, Colin Ambrose.
This is the vegan Reuben.
Here's your change.
This sandwich had its own life story. How it was made,
Sauerkraut,
what was in it, how it tasted.
Roasted beets, pickles.
The yin-yang between the homemade sauerkraut.
And the nice thing about biking is you can tune out your person you're riding with, and so.
Right up my alley, Benny. I've come up to the first intersection where it's clear that the bike lane ends. These are the first bikers I've seen today. Actually, that's not true. I did see one guy dressed in combat attire on a gravel bike.
I think there's such a focus that New York is New York City.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the Empire State Trail starts there, but then goes all the way up north and accentuates areas of New York that people don't even know about, they've never seen.
This trail is like a main vein that's just been discovered.
Yeah. It just opened in January, so it was, kind of new to the public. And then when I looked into the whole route, I was kind of blown away by what they had built.
You cannot imagine how easy it is to go from Manhattan to Kingston with absolutely no resistance unless you're in a village. I almost think that somebody wants you to get lost in those villages, so they spend a little more time there. It certainly worked with me in New Paltz. I had the best vegetarian Reuben I've ever had yesterday.
That town's got a great food scene.
Yeah. Now, when you're in a hotel room, what's the last thing that you want to worry about when you wake up? What time is it? Do you want us to come all the way through? Should we back up? Okay, the first thing that I look for is the clock.
I've been nicknamed as Gotta Go.
Because I know I do not want to be searching for my phone.
I was like, that's great, but I gotta go.
When my eyes open up, I simply want to know whether it's 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. That's all.
Gloria P. Satterson, GPS.
This is the road to Kingston.
This is Revolution Bicycles in Kingston, New York. there was still snow on the ground when it opened. So the two men who came in today are the first two who've actually come in and introduced themselves as people who were doing the length of it. So they're the first.
This is kind of cool. Experience, explore, and enjoy New York. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening here. We're on the trail, we're on the trail, we're on the trail. There it is. Now where to go, though? This is the next question. Oh, yes, I see it. Record. Okay, we're recording on that one. Push there, pull out.
The transition from Stone Dust Trail to road was the most pronounced that I had experienced at that point.
Here, okay, we just came through an intersection. No Empire State Trail sign. I'm assuming I'm doing the right thing here. This is a complete mix-up. Complete mix-up.
Yeah, I like getting lost.
100% mixed up.
I like the idea that if I'm off the trail,
63% sure I'm on the right road at this point.
and if I'm seeing things that I wouldn't otherwise have seen, I'm actually accomplishing my goal.
And I just had a bald eagle fly right in front of me, and unfortunately, I didn't have the technology to get that shot. But we ride until we know we're lost, and then we go back to the point where we last saw a sign and work the mix-up out. So, I'm back at all that Java in Tivoli, and Caitlin is going to be my guide. Oh, sorry, I'll put my mask on. Because I've missed a turn, I think.
Oh, no. Okay.
Tivoli, by the way. Oh, my Lord. I got completely twisted around.
In Tivoli. But that's okay.
I think it's that way.
Caitlin was very helpful. So if you do come back to Tivoli, go visit Caitlin. I found it. I'm back on track. Looking for another one. And there's another one of the magnificent pine trees of Tivoli. Look at that.
Wealthy families settled in Hudson.
Oh. I woke up early with Charlie and Hudson, and there is a fishing shanty section of Hudson right on the Hudson River that's really cool, and it's in transition.
It actually is now, or it's in...
Yeah.
And Charlie and I rode together for about 15 miles.
The whole thing was a gas. We really kind of felt like we were stealing time back from the world.
Where are we?
Welcome to Velodomestique Bicycle Shop in Valatia, New York.
The pro is back there tuning. If you were going to buy a bike to ride this trail, what bike would you buy?
I would probably go with a gravel bike.
And you're doing the Empire State Trail.
We sure are.
These guys are fired up, baby. Hi, girls. Is this East Greenbush?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. But here we are in Hamilton Point, and I'm telling you the story of my first fall.
Yeah, I heard he wiped out, and
Jesus.
you know, we were both reacquainting ourselves with pedals, with clip-in pedals.
I decided to get my iPhone out right about here, and I'm rolling along.
Start falling after 60. Anything's on the table.
I'm pedaling along, and wouldn't you know it, I didn't see this divider, and I went right into the divider.
He didn't tell me that he had fallen until he had gotten home, which was probably smart.
And I landed here in this spot right here.
I was like, were you hurt? No, not that much. No. It was my pride. His pride hurt.
And I rolled like maybe I knew what I was doing.
I have to say that the helmet really saved me, because if I didn't have my helmet on, I would not have walked away from this.
So here's a plug for helmets. Wear them at all times. I was not going fast, but I hit the ground hard.
We played it over 6 or 8 times because the sound.
Went down hard, baby. Back in East Greenbush, and I'm trying to use the handheld giglet, whatever the hell you call it. Hopefully get to Troy today and back. The ladies at Paisan Pizza said I could park here for a couple hours.
Basically, East Greenbush is about 2 miles from Albany. And so yet another crossing. The Hudson River comes back into view and the ride up the Hudson River continues.
Okay, now that says that way.
Progressing over the bridge was a challenge just to find where it was.
I got lost in the littlest town ever called Tivoli. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, yep.
Completely lost there.
Cute little town.
I finally found the river crossing, which is a bridge, and it jumps immediately onto a major bike path that's very similar to the bike path in Manhattan.
William McHarg, Army. Edward Martin, Army. These are all hometown heroes. They're like their American heroes in Troy, New York.
So just above Troy, there's an intersection where the trail bangs left to go to Buffalo. I chose to stay on the trail heading north, and that completed that day on the trail.
There it is. You didn't even have to go that far. I like it. I like it. One thing I don't have is a lock.
I will say we had an epic breakfast at some place in maybe Troy. I forget, it was some name like John and Jack's. An incredible, I mean, this place was out of the 1940s.
Had a simple breakfast of scrambled eggs and coffee.
We saw that avocado toast on the menu, but we both came to the conclusion that there were no avocados to be found.
And now we're on the Canalway. And the Canalway is really present after you head north out of Peebles State Park. And that particular section of the trail runs about 8 miles through marshlands that are really built around old canals.
We saw beaver dams with active beavers working.
Lots of beaver.
Lots of bird life.
Oh, look at that. Mink.
Lots of turtles.
Sunny turtle time. God damn it, they all dropped off. We just saw a beaver down there working that pond.
Sure, beavers or muskrats?
It could have been a muskrat. There is mink. I think we saw a mink.
So at about 10:30 in the morning, I drove to Albany Airport to pick Michael Sinkew up, who was then the rider that joined me for the next 2 days.
Hey, my name is Michael. I just came into Albany Airport.
When I started looking at the weather map, and I'd been in Palm Beach for the winter, and it was kind of like, shouldn't we wait till spring?
And I'm here with my dear friend, Colin. I don't know what he's doing.
So what you're gonna...
Well, you know, when a good friend asks you for something, you do it. And you could just tell that he wanted me to share the
I
experience.
almost came up with a blazer and I thought, yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think so. Here we go. That's the oldest continuously operated hydro station. It's Bikeway Route 9.
9. That's why I saw the 9. That's why I was saying.
Nice to meet you, my man.
Like right front.
And I was kind of shuttling back and forth, riding and driving.
That Charlie would set his car up at the north end where at some point midway, and then he would drive south, and Colin and I would be at the south end, and Colin and I would drive north. At some point, our roads would pass, and then Charlie and Colin and I would continue north to where Charlie's truck was. Then Charlie and I would actually continue south to pick up Colin's truck, and then I would advance to the north end to pick up Colin.
The logistics seemed very complicated.
And I got to look for a bike shop, but I got to figure it out.
Charlie's brakes had gone out. And he had identified that the bike shop in Schuylerville was closed. And I happened to fall in behind the other guys. And a gentleman walked out of the post office and engaged in conversation with me about how was my ride going.
This gentleman, the gods, said, yes, I own the bike shop in town. He said, by the way, I'm off today, but if you come by, I'll help Charlie with his brakes. And he recommended a bakery that we should visit, but it was closed on a Monday.
No gluten allowed.
So we ended up in a pizzeria.
And then had a big pizza in Schuylerville. Beautiful crust. It was really an excellent
Pizza, and more pizza, although...
Michael, Charlie, and I shared a half and halfer. Cheese, pepperoni, and mushroom on the other side. We finished it, yeah. Okay, Fort Ann. Nice trail. Fantastic. I've been coming from Manhattan. Must be some big-ass dairy farm around here. That was like a blue run. Okay, here we go.
Well, the prison is sort of picturesque, but the whole valley up there is fantastic.
Wow, a picturesque prison.
This is like a whole prison town.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Awesome, thank you.
Keep kicking, old boy. You're into the Champlain Valley now.
That tells you you're filming.
Good, shut this down. Okay, brother, you're on your own, okay?
Yep, thanks.
All right, you be careful. See you in an hour or so.
Straight ahead.
No, left.
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 Follow us.
Carl, you're going that way.
And I rode up to Ticonderoga from there.
Interesting to have these big logging trucks pass. You can hear them coming from a long way, and as they pass you, you smell the freshly cut wood.
Logging trucks and semis, literally 3 and 4 feet from your shoulder, running at 50 miles an hour.
At the car.
As much as it's a bit of a shocker to have them pass you, it also is refreshing to know that their service is important and it's fresh wood. And I got into Ticonderoga, beautiful waterfall in Ticonderoga. So there's my report from today. Lots of good stuff on video, and I hope that you're able to uncover it.
Good morning. This is Crown Point.
And I rode Ticonderoga north, and that was another ride through the Adirondacks.
Did I drop a glove? Yeah. I wouldn't have gotten far without it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Osprey in the tree, Bill. There we go.
And this time, Jim Levinson joined me.
My name is Jim Levison. And you can do whatever you want with this footage.
And Jim and I have been buddies for 25 years, fishing together.
I accompanied Colin upstate for his final 4 legs on the trip, all the way to the end of the Empire State Bike Trail at Rouse's Point, New York.
Sean.
How are you doing?
Nice to meet you, man.
How you doing?
Sean Platt from Plattsburgh, New York, great young guy.
I'm a head guide at Fitwater Anglers, and we're gonna go chase some wild rainbows.
So, Sean, do you consider yourself an apple knocker?
I don't know what that means.
Wait.
What does that mean?
I was turned on to the term apple knocker by a friend of mine who's in the fishing world, who lives in the lower Adirondacks around Saratoga Springs. And he would always refer to himself as an apple knocker.
So imagine catching one of those.
Oh, look at that. That's...
And he took us to some really nice waters.
Stuff in here. They'll still live, like, see this transition right here?
He guided us on the Putnam River, where we fished for native rainbow trout that were all of 6 and 8 inches long.
I mean, those markings, stockers don't have that.
At this point, I realized that I was close to achieving my goal to ride my bike, 300 miles to go fishing.
I don't doubt the positivity. That is so through and through in Colin. I doubted his ability to do it. Truthfully, I was in fear of some of the rides I thought were going to be right on the road.
There was no paved bike lane. It ran along a relatively busy country road, so you had to keep your wits about you.
I thought the positivity would dwindle when he started to have to reach real altitudes, but it never did. It never wavered. It's very similar to a lot of things in Colin's life, including the restaurant. I mean, I think there have been hard times in the restaurant where I think some people would have just thrown in the towel, but he always gets in there and figures it out.
I didn't really spend enough time focused on the website. And again, I was mixed up on the trail. And I thought for sure that I was staying on 9N. So as I rode out of the Westport Tavern, I took a left. And beautiful countryside, beautiful farmland, a rolling hills ride for about 3.5 miles until I got to 87 and I didn't see any Empire State Trail signs anywhere. And I realized, oops, I've screwed up again. I had gotten up at 6 o'clock in the morning and burned energy that I probably was going to need later on.
Did you see that woodpecker?
The ride through Essex, New York, is the most memorable part of that day. I really didn't realize how beautiful some of these Lake Champlain side villages are. And Essex is a real jewel in the crown of New York upstate. I rode into Keysville just in time to meet up with Jimmy and once again get on the road early in the afternoon to go fishing with Sean.
Yeah, it's all around in there. So we take from the toe.
And he guided us on a much bigger river. And in this case, we were fishing for brown trout, which were a bit larger. We did not get into any big fish that day, but we had a great afternoon of dry fly fishing with an early afternoon hatch. And it was a really nice, easy rolling river, way up in northern New York, in a territory that I never would have seen had I not engaged in the Empire State Trail.
No shit. The moon pulled
up an acre of bay.
I read it. A little life lesson out of it is if you have some dreams and there are things you want to do and you're getting a little older in life, do them.
I'm wondering what's next, what other rolling, floating adventures he has up his sleeve. But whatever they are, I hope he will call me to tag along.
Nice to meet you.
After 30 years of being married to Colin, I can't believe that I was a doubter. I'm ashamed to say that I was a doubter, that he would even finish it. It's just, Colin never ceases to amaze me.
That's gonna be the go.
So I turned around, but now I had to go through U.S. Customs, the border.